Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Sunday, December 15th, 2019, the 17th of Kislev, 5780. I am in Jerusalem here on a beautiful Sunday morning. It's nice and chilly. It's such a beautiful day here in Jerusalem. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget, you can get in touch with me during the week. Josh at thelandofisrael.com is my email. Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten Israel Advocacy and Journalism on Twitter at Josh Hasten, and now on Instagram as well. So the biggest story this week, we're going to hit the news hard, is the fact that Israel, believe it or not, yes, is going to a third election. In 1 year, the third election, we are going back to the polls. I believe it's March the 2nd is the date, if I'm not mistaken. But my guest here on the program this morning is a colleague of mine. He hosts Inside Israel Today on the Land of Israel Network. He is also the chief political correspondent for the Jerusalem Post. And if there's anybody you should be following on social media, on Twitter, over the next 80 days, covering yet again another election, that's Gil Hoffman now this morning. And I'm honored to have him on the show. Gil, welcome to Israel Uncensored.
It's a pleasure. Love your show.
Thanks so much. And the feeling is mutual. Gil, if you could explain to our audience, perhaps outside of Israel, maybe those in Israel who just don't get it, why are we going to a third election?
We're going to a third election because our politicians can't get along, Josh. There are too many politicians who refuse for personal reasons, ideological reasons, or legal reasons to sit with other politicians, and there are not 61, a majority of the Knesset, who agree enough on those things to be able to sit together. And until we have a majority of the Knesset that is willing to sit together, we will continue to suffer through election after election after election.
So you're saying we might even not be done at this stage after this third election in March. We could have a fourth or a fifth if people don't put their egos aside and sit down and come to some sort of compromise on the issues. We could be doing this forever.
Forever and ever and ever. Look, there were 3 elections in Greece in 10 months. We're having 3 elections in 11 months. There are worse places.
So let me ask you this. I mean, is our system the way it is right now, the fact that the Knesset was disbanded the other day, I mean, what about like important decisions on security? What about the passing of budgets for healthcare, all the different things that need to get done, which normally function, or I guess, perhaps somebody think our system's abnormal, and even when we do have a Knesset, it's not so normal. But how are all these things happening, running the country on a daily basis when we do not have a government?
Well, we have a caretaker government. Netanyahu continues to be the prime minister. He continues to make the decisions on security. He even was able to appoint a new defense minister, Naftali Bennett, who's an Energizer bunny trying to implement his agenda with the limited time that he has in that post. Budgets is different, Josh, because budgets, those decisions were made more than a year ago, and they cannot allocate new funding. They have to go on the basis of what was done a year ago, and so any new allocations cannot be made, and that means that a lot of important causes like helping the elderly and the sick and the Holocaust survivors and the handicapped, those allocations are just not being made, and people are suffering. In general, Josh, in any country, having a government is a good thing.
Well, we're not there yet, a long way to go. But in terms of the actual players, you're talking about Likud and the current Prime Minister Netanyahu, and you have Benny Gantz of Blue and White. Benny Gantz has a clear path in terms of leading his party, yet Netanyahu has to participate in a primary election for the head of his party. I believe that's in December, at the end of this month. And I already saw yesterday on Twitter, the Prime Minister is already starting to promote himself as the right man for the job in terms of leading the Likud. How serious is the challenge posed by Gideon Sa'ar as we head to the Likud primary, and what is the date of that event?
It's already next Thursday.
Oh my gosh,
things are happening very quickly over here. It's 10 days away, and it's already gotten into high gear. Gideon has a very big event tomorrow night in Or Yehuda that I will be covering and probably speaking about on my show on Tuesday. Netanyahu has events every day, which he does not invite the press to. We find out about them after they're over. When we get whatever they choose last night, he didn't even send anything that he said. He just sent what other people were saying about him. He choreographs everything to his liking. And so, no, Gidon can't beat Bibi. No one can beat Bibi right now in the Likud. He is the ultimate leader, but he can seriously make a dent because he's running a campaign that says, I can form a government. Netanyahu can't form a government because there are too many people who won't sit with Netanyahu for his legal reasons or for personal fights that there have been in the past, in the case of Avigdor Lieberman, or for ideological reasons. And the Likud members who are eligible to vote need to decide, do they want to have a left-wing government without the Likud in power? If so, choose Netanyahu. If they want to have a right-wing government led by Likud, they have to choose me. And that's a very smart campaign. It still won't work, but it's certainly going to have an impact. And even having a Likud race after so long really makes a difference.
So you do not, even though you're saying he can't win, you do not disagree with his strategy? You think this is a good move for Saar to at least put his hat in the ring for the party premiership?
Yeah, good. Everybody's waiting for the big election, which is the election to succeed Netanyahu, whenever that is, where you'll probably have 10, 15 Likud candidates, because this is a job that opens up every 20 years or so. I mean, they've only had 4 leaders going back to the 1930s.
Right.
And so anyone who really sees himself as a candidate in the future, this is the time that will be the time to run. So what Gidon has done is try to separate himself from the other candidates ahead of that election.
And Netanyahu's legal situation and how that is going to impact both the upcoming, I guess, the primary, which is already next week, but I guess in the bigger picture, the election itself, is that a major factor going forward for voters? I mean, I saw at this time, according to the polls, I guess the initial polls released, it seems that the Blue and White Party is gaining steam right now. We're still a long way away, while the Likud is losing steam. I mean, is that the reason that this is happening now? And if you can't just address the overall implications of his legal situation.
The answer is yes. We would have a government if there wasn't a prime minister who has decided to remain in office while going on trial. And there are enough people who are bothered by that it'll make it very hard for Netanyahu to be able to win a majority to be able to govern ever again. Maybe they don't see these cases as being the most serious cases in the world. Even if he has a bribery charge, they might see that case in particular as rather flimsy. But he is going on trial. And that means it will be hard for him to govern. That message does resonate. There are enough people on the right who agree with Netanyahu ideologically, who respect him as a leader who's accomplished a lot for the state of Israel, security-wise, economically, diplomatically, who still won't feel comfortable voting for a man who cannot devote his full attention to running the country anymore, or even might have to step down another few months and create more political instability, which is the last thing that people want. That is a situation that we have now in this third election that we did not have in the first 2. And that puts his Likud party at a disadvantage that they didn't have before.
Yes, it's absolutely chaotic, and I highly recommend over the next 80 or so days that you follow Gil Hoffman. Get yourself a copy of the Jerusalem Post. I'm still a dinosaur. I get the print version. One of the first things I did when I made Aliyah 18 years ago, I got myself a subscription to the J Post. Follow Gil on Twitter at Gil_Hoffman, and he gives an amazing explanation on a regular basis as to what is going on with the political situation. I'm talking about interviews with the top people here, from the Prime Minister all the way down, informing you about everything going on in the world of politics, especially now as Israel heads to election number 3 within a year. Thanks so much, Gil.
Pleasure, Josh. Glad to help, and thanks again for getting that newspaper in print. You're a dinosaur there, and we love dinosaurs here inside Israel Today.
We are going to take a short break and be right back with all the news from Israel on a beautiful Sunday morning in Jerusalem. My name is Josh Hasten. This is Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Short break, coming right back.
It's much more real than any reality show. It's much more dramatic than any drama. It's much more funny than any comedy. It's like a game show, but it's no game. It's our lives.
Listen to Inside Israel Today with Gil Hoffman, political correspondent for the Jerusalem Post, every week on thelandofisrael.com.
And we are back. Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com for the 15th of December, 2019. It is also the 17th of Kislev, 5780. Thanks again to my man, Gil Hoffman, chief political correspondent for the Jerusalem Post and fellow show host here at the Land of Israel Network. Check out his show, Inside Israel Today, for all the latest covering Israeli politics and much, much more. You're going to want to follow Gil over the next couple months as we head towards the third election here in Israel over the past year. Unbelievable elections for the 23rd Knesset. Getting to other news, another one of the top stories worldwide over the last couple of days. British Jewry breathes a sigh of relief on Friday after Jeremy Corbyn and his anti-Semitism-riddled Labour Party were resoundingly defeated by the Conservatives in Thursday's general election. This also reported by the Jerusalem Post. The Conservative Party, led by Prime Minister Boris Johnson, won a majority of 80 seats in the House of Commons, won traditional working-class constituencies which had voted for the Labour Party for generations. Corbyn said following the heavy defeat that he would step down as leader after a, quote, process of reflection. He will likely make way for a new leader sometime in early 2020. So this rabid anti-Semite, Israel-hating jerk was defeated resoundingly. I mean, it's still pretty scary. I don't know exactly how many votes the Labour Party got, but they actually did receive votes, I think, somewhere in the millions, perhaps. I mean, it's pretty scary to think that that many people voted for Labour, even though they did lose big time in the election. Nevertheless, a sigh of relief, even though that Corbyn lost, and Jews might be feeling safer now that he won't be their leader, he won't be their prime minister. I still would recommend Jews of England, Great Britain, come home to Israel. I still recommend it. Regardless of the election, even if he lost, even if he would have won, regardless of the election, I still say, come home to Israel. As I'm staring here, and we'll get to this now, of shocking images of a synagogue vandalized in Beverly Hills. I mean, this stuff is going on all over the world in Jewish communities. It seems like each and every day, and we can just jump to that story as well. Reported here by the Jewish press, members of the Nessa, I believe it's pronounced, synagogue in Beverly Hills arrived for Shabbat morning services. They saw that their synagogue, their shul, had been ransacked. Initially, they said that Torah scrolls were not damaged, but here I'm seeing the images here all over social media. In fact, the Torah scrolls were desecrated, and prayer books and all sorts of things. The building was ransacked here in Beverly Hills synagogue. The guy who did it was caught on video camera. I don't know if he's been caught yet. I'm sure he will be. You can see his picture here online, crystal clear. There's no doubt if he has not been apprehended, he will be. But just yet another incident of anti-Semitism, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in the U.S. It is spreading, folks, like wildfire. It is really out of control. Of course, we have our own, people sometimes don't refer to this as anti-Semitism. As I scroll through my phone right now, here on a Sunday morning in Jerusalem, do you have any idea how many different rock attacks or firebomb attacks took place just this morning here? That is also anti-Semitism. Just because it happens in Israel, that doesn't mean it isn't anti-Semitism. We have our problems here as well, and you can call it a firebomb or a rock attack, but at the end of the day, it is also an anti-Semitic attack against Jews. In this case, they have these paint bombs. You have They're like Molotov cocktails or whatnot. They're filled with paint. So when you throw them at a bus, as just reported here by Rescuers Without Borders in Gush Etzion, Arabs throwing a paint bottle at a bus, damaging the windshield here. Nobody was injured in that attack, but what they're trying to do is blind the driver. Imagine you're driving 80, 100 kilometers per hour, whether it's 60, 70 miles per hour, and all of a sudden a paint bomb essentially is thrown at your windshield, and you can't see a thing. I mean, this is attempted murder. This is Jew hatred, anti-Semitism, whether it happens in Beverly Hills or Gush Etzion. This is anti-Semitism. This is what it is. And unfortunately, people don't recognize it as anti-Semitism, don't use those words when it comes to Israel, but it is as well. The only difference is we have an army protecting us, and while in this case it may have been successful, this group of Arabs who threw fire bombs or paint bombs or what you have or rocks, which has been going on all day today at vehicles in Judea and Samaria. We're going to catch these guys, and there will be justice. We will bring these people to justice wherever they are. The IDF will get their hands on them, and the IDF protects us 24/7, and that is really the difference between what's going on in countries around the world where you do have police forces and whatnot, but here you have a dedicated 24/7 army which makes arrests on a nightly basis, whether it's reported. In many cases, in most cases, it is not reported. Makes arrests and targets these terrorists or would-be terrorists who are trying to carry out what I would describe as anti-Semitic activities, Jew-hating activities, attempted murder, or whatever you want to call it. So we have our issues here. The diaspora has their issues here, but it is spreading like wildfire. Everyone has to be alert. Everyone has to be prepared. And you got to be ready, because this is our reality. And, of course, the horrible terror attack, let's call it what it is, which took place in Jersey City just the other day in New Jersey with two gun persons, is that what you call them, a man and a woman, who went into a kosher grocery store and murdered one of the owners and another shopper and somebody who worked at the store, along with a New Jersey policeman, all murdered by these two monsters. And it is now, initially they were saying, when I was watching this as it went down on the news the other night, getting a live feed from U.S. Television, they were saying, no, this was not an anti-Semitic attack. This was random. But that's not the case. This was an anti-Semitic attack. And from what I understand, that the terrorists here were actually contemplating, or had originally planned, one or the other, to go into the school yeshiva next door to the grocery store, where a lot of young people, a lot of children were studying. That could have been a horrible, horrible massacre, and it's bad enough as it is, with four here murdered in the JC kosher supermarket, and just outside the supermarket here in Jersey City, New Jersey. It is all over the place, folks. This report here, actually, I'm reading by JNS. Governor Phil Murphy ordered flags across the state to be flown at half-mast for a full week, starting this past Friday, in recognition of mourning of the passing of the victims in Jersey City. It's insane, folks, whether it's this violence, whether it's desecrating synagogues in Beverly Hills, whether it's this young, brave woman from New York University, Adela Moadeb is her name, who spoke up against the Jew hatred on her campus, was recognized last week by President Trump. She was called up on stage there at the Israeli-American Council's conference in Florida to tell how she fought back against hate and anti-Semitism on her campus. And the President of the United States recognized her as he signed an executive order including Jewish students under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which will punish universities who financially will punish universities who host these hate groups like Students for Justice and so-called Palestine, SJP, and The federal funding will not come into these universities if they turn a blind eye towards Jew hatred. And here you have this brave student who fought back against SJP and the fact that NYU honored the organization with their President's Service Award for outstanding contribution to life on their campus. But she actually sued NYU for anti-Semitism while college leaders shrugged it off. She asked the President of the United States, or rather the President of the United States decided he was going to step in and actually do something on it. So as she says here in an op-ed in the New York Post, President Trump's new executive order not only changes the reality, but corrects a long-time gross injustice against Jewish students. The order, the President's executive order, expands Title VI's existing protections to explicitly include discrimination against Jews. So there is a major victory for the forces of good against the forces of evil. And yet again, the Trump administration stepping up for the Jews, for Israel, and so many Jews, unfortunately, in America can't stand the president and are overlooking or ignoring or simply say that they just don't care about all the positive he has done for Israel and the Jewish people because their hate for the president is so strong and so built into them at this point that they're not willing to recognize the positive, even if there is negative there, even if people aren't crazy about the president. I mean, come on, at least give him credit when he passes something this important, which will potentially decrease the attacks against Jews and Jewish students on campus in the U.S. I mean, go ahead and not like the guy, don't like the president, but come on, give him credit where credit is due, yet so many, unfortunately, not willing to do so. And of course, until now, the president has been perfect when it comes to the Jewish community, in my opinion, and Israel. Even if you're not crazy about his language or people delving in, dissecting every word he says and accusing him of being anti-Semitic or an anti-Semite and ignoring the good that he has done up until this point for the Jewish people and Israel. Here is just another contribution from Israel to the world. The Mossad helped Denmark foil a wave of attacks by 20 terrorists, reported by the J-Post. The Mossad was behind successful efforts by Denmark to nab a cell of 20 terrorists planning a wave of attacks, Channel 12 reported on Saturday night. I say you're welcome. Okay, you may not vote with us in the UN. You may want to boycott our products from Judea and Samaria throughout the EU. Yet here you have Israel saving lives in Denmark. You are welcome. In July, the Mossad director Yossi Cohen noted that his agency had prevented a large number of terrorist attacks, especially on airliners across the world, and this now includes another planned attack against Danish targets. You're welcome, folks. I mean, what's it going to take for you to get off of Israel's back, to vote with Israel in the UN, to vote with Israel against these haters who want to boycott products from the Jewish heartland, from Judea and Samaria? I don't know what it's going to take, but this is what Israel does for the world. And just finishing off the show here for this week, the first Israeli team in the sport of cycling is headed to the Tour de France. This is a great story here from the Jewish press. The Israel Cycling Academy, ICA, on Wednesday announced its partnership with Startup Nation Central, a Tel Aviv-based nonprofit organization that connects companies around the world to Israeli innovation. Under the name Israel Startup Nation, the team will compete on the cycling world's biggest stage for the first time ever, as the first ever Israeli team to compete in the Tour de France will take place this year. This is an unbelievable accomplishment for Israeli cycling. Participation in the Tour de France represents the enormous progress made, says the article, by the ICA over the past 5 years. Israel achieving on all fronts, from thwarting terror attacks to cycling and everything in between. This is the startup nation. This is the Jewish state of Israel contributing to the world, yet unfortunately still receiving so much hate from so many different quarters, but I don't want to focus on the negative. Let's focus on the positive, and let's wish the Israeli cycling team much success as they head to the Tour de France in 2020. And that's going to do it here for today. This is Israel Uncensored on the Land of Israel at thelandofisrael.com. I call it like I see it, folks. Feel free to weigh in on today's show, on things that I've said. Get in touch with me, Josh at thelandofisrael.com, on Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten Israel Advocacy and Journalism, on Twitter at Josh Hasten, on Instagram as well. Big shout out to Binyamin Bresky for all the work he does getting these shows up, as well as Tabitha Epstein for everything she does for the network behind the scenes. Between now and I believe when we speak again next week, next week we have the holiday of Hanukkah, which starts on Sunday night. So my show is scheduled for Monday. Let's see if that happens, folks. I'm not sure. Hopefully there'll be a show next week. But if we don't speak, now I guess it's the time to wish you a Chanukah Sameach for everyone celebrating out there. But hopefully, please God, there'll be a show next week. But for today, I'm signing out for December the 15th, 2019, the 17th of Kislev 5780. And as always, wherever you are in the wonderful world of ours out there, be safe. Shalom, shalom from a nice, beautiful day here in Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the State of Israel and the Jewish people. Shalom.
Hey folks, Yishai Fleischer here, and you might know that I have a show here on the Land of Israel Network, something I'm really proud of, and I want you to join in. This week we're going to talk about the fight between Jacob and Israel. It's a little bit surprising, not Jacob and Esav, but Jacob and Israel, and we're going to be connected to what's really happening here in the Land of Israel. So join me on the Yishai Fleischer Show here on the Land of Israel Network, and be part of it wherever you are.